This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is Andy Nguyen, serial entrepreneur, and I say that because you have your hand in a lot of things. Yeah. So just thank you for being here, man, and give us a little bit of a backstory as to what your motivation is or why you wanted to get into various projects.
Of course. Thanks for having me here first. I'm super excited and glad I got, me and you talk all the time. Glad we could finally be in person. And I guess a little bit my backstory is I am a first generation Vietnamese American. Mm-hmm. I was born here in Orange County. My parents were involved during the war, the fall of Saigon.
Oh, dang.
So they moved here in 1974, 75. And they, my dad landed in North Carolina. My mom ended up in Minnesota. They didn't even know each other in Vietnam, so they kind of met each other over here.
That's pretty cool.
Both Vietnamese still, and then obviously got married and ended up in Orange County. Had me. Growing up here, I guess this is the largest Vietnamese community outside of Vietnam.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so if you go to the Little Saigon area, that's like the most period. If you go there, you're like, okay, everyone looks just like me over there. So growing up, I grew up learning a lot about my Vietnamese culture, but also American culture at the same time. I was super quiet, shy, awkward as a kid. I didn't speak until I was like 4 years old. Oh. So I think before that, my parents were like, they're flipping out, like, I don't know, you got a mute going on, like we're gonna have some trouble here. But just like every other kid growing up, I wanted to fit in, and the kids that accepted me were, happened to be the troublemakers, all the mischievous kids.
That's so funny.
And I started getting fights all the time, getting arrested, getting the worst grades possible, and I kept leading on until I got into high school. And I remember getting ready for high school, and high school was in that time period, it was like the late 90s already. It was a lot of gang culture was super big in this area.
I'd say it was like a cool thing at that time.
It was, and I remember the kids that were there already were telling me, you're gonna have right before I was getting to ninth grade, like, you're gonna have the worst experience ever. Like, this is, you're gonna get picked on, and I let it get into my head so much that whole summer I was like, I don't want to go to high school. Like, I'm not ready for this. And by the time I got there, everything that was stuck in my head became like reality. I was getting bullied by the gang members. My grades were slipping. I had like a 1.67, I think, that year.
Wow.
The only two classes I was passing was basketball and choir.
Dang.
Yeah, it was tough. I couldn't focus, and that really drowned a lot of my energy. And I ended up getting kicked out of school. And as a Vietnamese, in Asian culture, you can't get, education is like this.
Yeah.
Like by far, no matter what, that's like the most prominent thing. My parents sent me to tutors. They sent everything they could to get me to keep my grades up, and I just couldn't. I couldn't focus. I wasn't all there. I wasn't mentally there. And then I went to continuation school for 1 year. But continuation school, the one I went to, was a little different because you go there once a week, and the rest of the week you're at home. And I lived right across the street from my high school. Like, outside the window, I see my high school, right? So 2:38, the bell rings, everyone leaves. Like, you can see everyone having a good time, and I'm just stuck in my window, like,
like in jail.
I'm in jail right now. Like, this sucks. Like, it's not, first week was cool. I'm like home watching TV all day, doing nothing. And then, back then we were have a computer, we're on AIM, but no one's on AIM because everyone's in class.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I got to get out. Either I can continue this route. You can graduate early, continuation school. But I was like, I miss the social aspect of things. I was like, I'd rather be bullied right now than be at home stuck here. This is like the worst of the worst.
So you were quarantined before it was cool.
I know, right?
Yeah. What do you think that did, though, as because education is such a prominent subject or thing in the Asian culture? Did your parents try to force you to get good grades, or did they guide you?
they were trying to, they kept seeing my grades, those D's and F's, just just drives them crazy. You can't.
Yeah.
You're comparing me to like they're comparing me to the other kids. The kids are like, oh, they're straight A students, they're honor students, and then you got Andy here. He's the worst of the worst right now. Like like we don't know any of our other friends got kicked out of school. It's just me, and I'm not even that bad of a kid in general. Like I wasn't like I'm like maliciously trying to hurt people, but I just didn't do well in school, and they kept putting me to all these tutor programs, like sending private tutors at home to do whatever they could to get my grades up, and I'd get it up like this and it'll start slipping again. But I think that process of being at home that 1 year really got me digging deep, really figuring out how I wanted my future to look. If I can, how do I come back? If I come back to school, this is a great way for me to like redefine myself. I forget about what everyone thought of me back then, and now I have this. Now I look like the cool troublemaker kid. So everyone's gonna treat me a little different when I came back, because I'm like kind of like the new kid now, and I come back with this new type of identity that I saw within myself. At home I picked up like hip hop culture. I love basketball, and I kind of blended myself into this character who I thought I was, and I came back and I was a completely different person. I had more confidence in myself. I started participating a lot more. I was like I joined any club I could join just to be. People want to leave school and the bell rings, right? I just wanted to be there as much as I could because I wanted to socialize and hang out with people. I missed out a whole year of that. It's just like right now, everyone's like ready to go out and hang out with everyone again. I was just me by myself. Now I'm like socializing, and I become the school's like social butterfly. I become the school's like best dressed on the list, and
That's
you can
cool.
see me like big transition from who I was prior to that, and that was a big defining moment on to who I am today.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah, so I did pretty well in my last 2 years of high school, but when I graduated, I couldn't go to any of the schools I wanted to because I got kicked out of school. So I had to go to community college. Went to OCC over there, and at OCC, you're in a different pond. You're not familiar territory anymore, and I'm trying to take all my general ed courses. I took career planning. I think the career planning one was like the one that really struck me. I tried to take business classes. I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do, and I took career planning, and they make you take all these surveys. You're just taking like all these surveys, it's like a personality test.
Yeah.
And I was getting results like janitorial work, like office admin. It was really saying that, right? And I was like, "Fuck this! There's no way. Like, if this is it, then I'm out." Like, and you can see like my face is, I'm back to I feel like I'm back to square one again.
Yeah.
I was like, man, my grades are starting to slip again. I'm about to be on probation in college. Like, I can't do this. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I happened to have a friend, one of my best friends. He dropped out of college. I think he dropped out like 5-6 months into it. He's like, I'm out. I was like, are you serious? Like, what are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna work for this guy doing become a real estate appraiser. And I was like, what the hell? What's that? Like, I don't know anything about real estate. And he goes, no, this guy's really young, and he's making a lot of money right now. I'm gonna learn what he does, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it exactly what he did. And this guy was really young, pulling a Range Rover, and we're like, oh shit! Like, I don't know anyone young driving that. And I didn't even know what the word entrepreneurship meant when you thought. And 20 years ago, if you're thinking about a business person, you think of a guy in a suit.
Yeah, like Wall Street dude.
You're walking around with a briefcase, and that's what I pictured as. And I didn't even know what that meant. He's like, we could start our own company. And I said, what? There's no way. Like, we don't know anyone that has their own company. So I was like, I don't have anything to lose. This sounds a lot cooler than what I'm doing in school. So I'm going to go just tell my parents I'm going to go do real estate. And then my parents, they asked me, like, what about school? So I lied and said, yeah, I'm going to do school at the same time and the real estate thing. And there's like 5 of us that went and did it. I was the only one that got my real estate appraisals license. And we built this company, and we learned how to build business rapport, like, a lot of business lingo, things that you don't learn, like, hey, I'm an 18-year-old kid with bleach hair. How do I come in here and convince you guys to let me go appraise your house in the files? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, this guy doesn't, I know damn well you don't own a house. So how are you going to make this work? So I had to prove my work time and time again. And then we started out doing like $300 a day to like $3,000 a day.
Dang.
And we're like 18, 19-year-old kids. So we're like, okay, well, now we're learning about this business stuff. We're learning about how to generate clients, how to keep them and keep them sticking with us. But in that time period, I also learned that I didn't like this real estate thing. I was like, this real estate thing is not what I'm passionate about and what I enjoy. So I got to figure something else out. And I had another friend. He started his own clothing brand. And I was like, oh, clothing, that's something that's cool. Like, he's like, oh, I need help. Can you be a model in my lookbook? And I was like, model? No way. I don't do that. I'm not going in front of the camera. He goes, I'll give you free clothes. And I was like, well, free clothes, I'm down. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you need? I'm down to do it. So I did this photo shoot for him. Next thing you know, he's like, hey, do you guys have an office? I was like, no, we've been making all this money in my parents' garage, just using a computer and making it work. And he goes, let's go get an office down in Costa Mesa. We'll just split the rent, and got this little 300 square feet room. He has his clothing. He's working on his clothing thing on one side, and we have our real estate thing on one side. And you can see me gravitating towards his work all the time. Like, he's not making any money, but I was like, damn, I'd rather help with you on that. So I was like, hey, can I invest into your company and become a partner? And he told me no. And when he told me no, I was like, oh, fuck this. Like, if you don't let me do this, I'm gonna go start my own brand then. So I was like, I'll stick around and learn what I need to learn, and I'm gonna go start my own brand. So I convinced my best friend who had the real estate thing, me and him, to go start our own brand.
So you had real estate still while doing the clothing?
So I was doing both at the same time to keep because we had income from that.
Yeah.
We didn't have income from the apparel thing yet.
Dang.
Yeah.
So the apparel, what was that one called?
The brand was called I'm King Clothing.
Okay.
We started it in 2007.
And is it still?
We sold it off it's kind of still running. It started off we sold it in 2015 to another company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So dang, you had like you said, before you even knew what the word entrepreneurship was, you were already, kind of to go back at the very beginning, when you were doing continuation school and you said you took like kind of that time off and redefined yourself. Dude, that's the definition of being an entrepreneur, right? Like rolling up your sleeves. Like you could have just kind of become a turtle and just like put your head back in your shell and went back to school and just had nothing. But there's something about that mindset that being an entrepreneur in today's world, like you can't teach that mindset. You can read all the freaking books you want, you can do all the self-help things you want, but you can't teach and give the ability to take what you did then as a little high school kid, to take all that energy, to take all that bad and turn it into something good. Like I think that's the stuff especially in today's world where it's like everyone wants the fast pace, they want everything given to them right away.
They want that dopamine of likes and
right
on social media.
But you can't. I'm just such a big fan. I love when I hear people's stories that are like that, because it's that mentality, that Mamba mentality, the Kobe Bryant mentality. Like people don't have that.
Yep.
It's not something you can wake up one day and have. I guess you can, but it's something that derives deep down within yourself. So hearing like that first part was really rad, because like you said, it was a defining moment in your life where if you didn't do that, would you be where you're at today?
Probably not. I'll probably be in a completely different place, and I've probably been working a 9-to-5 job that my parents like led me towards.
Yeah, like that they approved of essentially. Go ahead. I was gonna say, so you had real estate and that went into clothing. Honestly, dude, I'm like sitting over here eating some popcorn, listening to your story, but like kind of just keep talking us through like how you continue to build and grow from there. Like I didn't know you did the real estate appraiser thing. I knew you were into clothing. I knew that, but just keep telling us like a little bit about how you got to where you're at.
Yeah, I think the clothing thing was where I learned a lot. We started, that was right before the recession hit. Like the 2008 recession.
That,
I'm in the reason why I started stepping away from the real estate thing is because the regulations were hitting and the recession was about to hit. So you could see a lot of rules and things. I'm losing a lot of files, clients, just because of regulations that are happening. And the apparel thing, we're like, okay, let's go all in. Let's make this work. And we learned a lot about guerrilla marketing. We learned a lot about building hype, getting people excited about the community and culture. And those are a lot of the foundation that I apply to my work now.
I was gonna say I feel like that's you now.
Yeah, and I think in that streetwear culture, you learn a lot of those tools. You apply if you had another person in streetwear that really understood it, and you put them in a different industry, they can make a lot of magic happen. And we built this strong brand for 7 years, but in fashion's like up and down.
Yeah.
Trends go, brands are gone like the next day, and I was like, this is not. I don't know if I can do this forever. As in the beginning, that's all I knew at one point. I was like, if I don't make this clothing thing work, I'm done. I'm screwed. That's all I know. And a lot of people were blogging at the time. Blogging was like super big. You had a website, you were writing your blogs. And I happened I had to tell the stories for the company all the time. So I was shooting a lot of food. I was like, where are we going to lunch today? We're going to lunch here. Well, I'm going to shoot about this. And I kept writing about different restaurants on our clothing blog. And you'd see people emailing me and messaging me like, hey, thanks for recommending that restaurant. That place is super good. This place is like fire. And I became like known as this food guy that recommends places. And I was like, okay, I guess. And then my sister and me would be like on like a Yelp war, like yelping different places. And we're like, these are the top places. We're going to go try it out. And over time, I started learning more about like why people enjoy these places with this type of cuisine. This is what works best. And when I traveled for like trade shows, I'd noticed like all these cool ice cream stores that had these unique flavors that I've never seen before. I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could turn like this into this into an ice cream flavor. All I know is Thrifty, Cold Stone, and Baskin Robbins. That's it.
Thrifty's the best though.
And I was like, well, I'm working on this idea. I wanted to kind of blend in what I learned from streetwear and bring this lifestyle community vibe and put this ice cream shop together. And how do we fuse it and make it work? For a while, I threw around the idea for like 2 years. I wanted to actually open like a speakeasy clothing store in the front with a hidden ice cream store in the back.
Oh, that's dope.
Type of like that, and I was also opened it down on like near 4th Street.
Yeah.
And then that didn't work out, so I kept pitching the idea around some more, throwing it out there. Everyone laughed at me, like, you're crazy. And we found a store in Fountain Valley. It was an ice cream store that was existing, but it was open maybe once every other week. It was rarely even open. So we're like, hey, well, we're talking to the guy. We're like, hey, can we buy you out? And we want your shop because it's already built out. That like minimize our risk on opening a store in case it doesn't work out. So he's like, I don't want to sell. I still want to make ice cream. And we're like, oh shit, we don't know how to make ice cream. So how do we make this work? So he's like, he's this like 65-year-old white guy, and got us like, at the time we're like late 20 Asian kids, and we're trying to understand each other. But he saw something in us that he's like, you know what, I got to do this. This is it for me. If he doesn't do anything else, it's it. He's done. Yeah. He's already retired. He's well off. He's like, I'll give these guys a shot. Let's see what happens. So we make a deal. We team up with them. We start ripping the store apart, painting it like all black. We probably put in like less than 15 grand to redo the store. And we soft open with just ice cream, and every day it gets busier and busier and busier. And then we start posting on social media like, hey, we have the donut thing coming in. And once we grand open, like, boom, lines down the block every single day, and we're like, what's going on? Like, we don't.
It literally just blew up.
It just blew up, and that's not normal. You don't see things happen like that.
Yeah.
And it became this like phenomenon where media's there all the time, and we're shooting, and people come up to me going, hey, this is hype. It's only gonna last like 6 months. I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know it was gonna last. It was gonna work in general. I just wanted to do something cool. And we opened our second store like a year later, and that store outperforms our first store. We're like, all right, we're on to something now. Well, let's just continue scaling. We end up, I think 7 years in now, and we have about 28 locations.
28.
Yeah, throughout Southern California.
Just afters?
Just afters. And we're opening our first location in Las Vegas. But in between that time period, I kept meeting a lot of people that I saw that were shining stars, like amazing talent, but didn't have the opportunity to do something for themselves. And I was like, okay, well, I have to meet cool people. I want to help, and I end up becoming a partner in these projects and help people develop brands. And I think over a 7-year period, I've been involved in like almost 20 different brands all along the way.
Dang.
Yeah.
And I feel like in those different brands too, like from at least what I know, and just this is like me being like an outsider looking in, but dude, you take the same tactics and principles to almost every one of those, where you said like the best description of marketing that I feel like you guys do is like that guerrilla style. Like you guys are so freaking good at building hype, but I think the difference between building hype, where there's other brands out there now that build hype, but then they fizzle off, right? They die out. You've been able to create something where you guys build the hype, but you keep the hype going, which is almost freaking impossible. So I mean, dude,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like that's rad.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to have not just hype product, but we understand like a lot of people don't have a strong core behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't have a regular menu that's just amazing that works for the everyday person. They're just focused on chasing that quick dollar, and for us, we know that doesn't last forever.
Yeah, they want that unicorn item.
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
one thing that's gonna like carry them, like you said, 6 months, maybe
Exactly.
6 years,
Exactly,
but
yep.
still, you know, something's always gonna fizzle out.
Of course.
So how do you, in like today's world with everything that you have going on, how do you, I guess, find not time, but how have you been able to kind of take everything that you do and still have the ability to do it at your best? That's kind of a loaded question because it's
Yeah, I think I'm still driven by what else is possible, whether it's in food or outside of food. I think there's a lot of industries that I still want to disrupt, and I always hate the title of like, hey, he's the food guy or he's the clothing guy or whatever. I was like, well, I can do a lot of things. Just give me the opportunity, and I'll make it work. I don't know. I just have fun. That just fires me up seeing a void out there and something that you can come and fill and change things up and disrupt.
that's a disrupt is a good way to describe
Yeah,
that.
it's a good mentality. Because I was going to say, since you have found success in food, you found success in clothing, do you feel like you have to stay in those lanes or bring that sort of, for lack of a better word, lifestyle or like the same formula you use here?
No, I think I think the difference between me and a lot of others is I'm open to adapt. I'm really great with adapting, but still holding my values at the same time. Pivoting in different ways and understanding, like, be open minded is what's carried me here. Because if I was one track mind, I wouldn't be able to do what I was able to do. Right, I'd be only stuck in one business, one project. But
Yeah.
since I'm so loose with a lot of things that I can just weave my way like water into the different things.
It seems like every time you've been faced with a pressure or rock bottom, you've made the decision to change, to adapt, and to come out of that. Is that self-driven, or is that because you were forced to?
I think I'm always, it's like we're competitors, right?
Yeah.
We're always trying to, we're always up for the challenge, and we always want to outdo ourselves from the last time. And I think that's what keeps me going, because I feel like, I guess in my mind, my best work and biggest opportunity is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I let off the gas, then I'm going to miss it. And I don't want to miss that. So
But when do you think it's enough? Because it's good to be driven. It's good to be motivated. It's good to have these goals that you want to set for yourself, but you don't want to lose sight of life per se.
of course.
We were talking about families before this, and your family needs as much, if not more, attention than your businesses do. Your own parents, because you're still a son, you're a husband, you're a father, you're still all these different titles, and a lot of times it's easy to ignore. Not saying that you do it, but I'm saying it's easy to ignore that and focus on what pays the bills or your businesses. Like I don't want to say love, but for me, I feel like I get a break. I'm like, oh, my wife has to stay home and watch the kids all day. I get to go to work. I get to film a podcast. It's like my little break time. So when I come home, I'm like refreshed and energized, and I'm dad, and it's easy for me. How have you dealt with that? With giving 110% to your business and then doing the same at home?
I think over time I've learned a lot of what I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of stick to those parts, and everything else I have to hand over the keys to someone else to run it. And knowing, obviously, I can't work 24/7 because I have a family and kid.
Yeah.
It's just, if I can get someone 90% of what I'm looking for, then that's how I have to accept it, because I still want to enjoy my life outside of this and still have my rules of 4 to 9. That's daddy time. You guys want me before 4 o'clock or after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And I think that's I've made it work so far in the last 2 years with it, and I still get to enjoy my life with my daughter and still get to work as hard as I can. And I think I'm still very fortunate because I'm still doing a lot more than most people get to do in general. I'm living a lot of lives in this one lifetime right now. So I don't know when it's enough. I don't. Right now it's good. It's hard to say. Like 10 years, I might be like, hey, I don't want to do any of this at all. I don't want to do business at all. I just want to travel for the next 10 years. I don't know.
It's a two-part question because you kind of answered it. Is the first part is how important do you think it is as an entrepreneur to find your passion? Because a lot of people don't get to do what they're passionate about. And number two, after that, how important is it to set yourself like a schedule or a time where you do things? Because when I opened up my digital marketing agency, I went in whenever I wanted, I left whenever I wanted. There's never a schedule. So passion and schedule. Or how lucky you were fortunate enough to find it. Yeah. How did that come about?
I worked, like you said before I didn't know when it was enough. Before I was working like crazy hours. I was at the stores from the morning when we opened 10 a.m. till we set up, and I wouldn't get home till like 1:30 every single day.
Oh wow!
So it was so crazy nonstop, and everything was going on. And I was jumping business to business, making sure we were good. And I got to a point where I was like, hey, I need to go enjoy life a little bit. And I did. I took a year where I just traveled the world. Like right after I got married, I was like, okay, we got married overseas. I'm like, I'm out. Let's figure it out. Let me know. Cool. And I learned a lot. I saw a lot of things fall through the cracks, and a lot of things went haywire. But they were still running. They're still here. And I was like, all right. Now I learned a lot about. All right, this is how you hand off the reins. This is the things that you have to hand off. And yeah, people are gonna get mad at you about it, but it's part of life. Everyone, you still have to figure it out. So as long as I can, hopefully build a good playbook and standard operating procedures that hopefully they follow to the best they can, and I'll jump in when
you have to.
When I got to put out the fires.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that, like, I'm assuming, without knowing, but you kind of just said it, like, to be able to do all these different things that you're doing and to be literally dragged in a million different directions, you've had to create some type of core structure with core people, obviously, at in those places. But how difficult was it for you to continue to or to create the SOPs or to put the right people in place? Because I know for me, and I'm like small time compared to you, it's like when we had the 4 stores in a restaurant, dude, everyone expected me to be in all 5 places at once. It's impossible, right? But I was able to develop little areas where I could, like you said, pass off the keys or hand over the reins. How have you been able to kind of continue to keep that going so you can continue to do what you're doing?
I think I have the guys in place that understand my role now. They know that I'm looking at the bigger picture, things like how do we scale, like this is how you set up your business to sell. But if I'm in the store with you guys, this stuff will never get done. Yeah. And if this is what you guys are looking, if this is your goal in place, then this is all I'm going to give you guys. If you guys are looking for me to be in the kitchen, there's no way. If there's a fire in there, call the police. Call the fire department. Don't call me because I'm not doing that. But if it's like putting out fires on like situations and how to go through things where we're avoiding lawsuits or financial, then let me know. But if it's anything within that kitchen, keep me out of there. Yeah. I don't want when I walk in there, I want to know that I don't know what's going on there. That's all you guys. Right. I think that's a good separation. Yeah. It's, some people need to know everything that's going on, but I think in what I do and where I'm at, you guys take care of this, and I'll stick to the side of things. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the goal as entrepreneurs, right? Like, you want to build teams and put people in places so they're better at their job than you are. Because if not, if you're the best person in your company at every single job, then that company's not going anywhere, course, 100%. So how, like, for me, this is more of like a selfish question, I guess. Like, I constantly deal with, and I know a lot of it's also I just need to not care as much, but I have for the last 4 years, man, I have dealt with things like, and I guess it's kind of a compliment too at the same time, but it's also frustrating. But I've dealt with stuff like, oh, Ben's never here, or Ben doesn't do that, Ben doesn't do this, he's probably sitting in Hawaii on the beach, or like all that dumb stuff you hear. How have you been able to kind of mitigate some of that, if at all? That's question 1. I'm throwing a lot at you. And then question 2 would be essentially, like,
We'll go with question 1 first.
Yeah. I think a lot of times what definitely everyone has experienced that. We try to bring everyone back together and re-educate them, like, hey, this is why this brand even exists. This is why you even have a job. Like, this is, or even a career going forward, like, or the opportunity to grow within this. Like, this is, if you didn't start that business, where would everyone be now? At this point, right? You wouldn't have a chance to grow. Like, and also telling them, like, if you want to get to 10 stores and have a life career here, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
I need my breaks. I need these things. You've been hustling into this on the coffee for years now.
Yeah.
So I think it's just getting them to remember how you got there and why you guys got there and the foundation of everything in the first place.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, are you big in all your different businesses? Are you big on building and creating a company culture?
Yeah, I think company culture is super important. I've been able to see strong company culture, the sales numbers between having a strong culture and then things that are so loose.
Like a drama store versus a good store.
A clear difference.
Yeah.
And I think company culture is super important. If you don't have that, you just have another store and you're just selling product and you're not selling anything else. And your customers are a lot smarter than that. They see right through it.
Yeah. Especially today, like, why come to my business or your business when they can go to Manny's business or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I mean, building the company culture and being able to sustain that, I guess, is what's super impressive. Because man, it's
tough
sometimes, and I know a lot of it has to go with not caring about certain things, like the minor things, but at the same time, like, I've put my blood, sweat, and tears, like, my heart is into those places. So when you hear Joe Schmo saying X, Y, and Z, part of me just wants to be like, dude, let's do this old-fashioned way. Stop talking crap. Let's go, but it's like, what the heck? And I know a lot of it needs to not care as much about the little things, which I've learned. I'm on my 11th year, but I used to take things so personal.
Same.
And I think that's what's driven me to where I'm at. But at the same time, it's like, how in the heck do you continue to just re-establish and reiterate and recreate cultures across, if you're in 28 locations or whatever it is, like, that's
tough. It's tough. It's hard because the line of communication from us to the staff is so far now. Before we just drop in the store, and now when you walk in, they're like, "Who the hell are you?"
I
can't even just walk back there now because they're like, "Hey, this guy's trying to rob the store or do something crazy," So I have to call the GM. Hey, can you let them know I'm coming in today? So, yeah. So
that's cool, man. I mean, honestly, like, I admire what you've been able to do and create. I think what you've done has been awesome. I love seeing, even just from when we met each other on like social media to now, dude, you've done so many different things, and it's like, for me looking at that, like, it's impressive, but not to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be him. It's just like, it's to the point where I'm like, dude, this guy has my respect. Like, it's freaking awesome.
It motivates you too.
It does motivate
for sure.
me.
If you look at it in the right way.
Yeah.
Because it'd be very easy to be like, I deserve that. But it's like, you worked for it. That was going to be my next question is when do you know when it's time to move on to the different thing, or that it's okay to, split your time a little bit here and start focusing more on this to grow
I think
the next project?
I talk to my partners a lot of time. I tell them, just naturally, for anyone, right? If you have a company that's doing well and you're getting paid for it, you're gonna just you see it growing, you're gonna naturally apply more time to that, right? Just if you see something struggling and not doing well, you're like, hey, if I'm spending the equal time on this and I'm making nothing and I'm making a lot over here doing the same thing, just naturally you're gonna have to go this way. You're like, well, I can't. This is gonna keep holding me back and dragging me on, and it's tough. But those are the tough things that we have to do. You have to make your choices. Like, hey, you got to keep running with this, or because you got a family to take care of, you got a business to run. Like, if this is not working, you need to cut the cord now and hopefully bring maybe the good players over to this company.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did that with our restaurant. Like, it was I wasn't able to give enough of my time to make it make sense.
Yep.
So it's just, you had to kind of cut the bleeding.
And you understand along the way, you'll be like, hey, no matter how much time you put into that, you're like, hey, well, you would never get the same results as this, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Honestly, it's just been fun to watch you. I've been one of those people standing in a line at a place that you've created. And again, like I want to say thank you for taking the time to come out and talk with us.
Of course, I'm super stoked.
And yeah, do you have any?
I guess the last question for me would be, because you had businesses pre-social media, and now you have businesses during it, talking about creating that hype, have you seen a difference in growth, or do you think social media has helped accelerate the growth or the success of some of the businesses that you have?
I think it could it could give you that hockey stick. With social media, you can get that hockey stick, growth of success.
Yeah.
But then it can also, with social media, it can also, it's so fast, it's so,
Yeah.
people eat the stuff like quick, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, now how do I follow this up in like a month already? I only had a month success with this. How do we follow up, or how do we sustain this? It's super hard. I think before, without social media, you could once you got it, maybe it was slower to get there, but you can hang up top a lot longer, like people knocking off your concept or opening very similar things nearby was a lot slower than it is now. The pace you can open things now,
it's insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Do you ever sit back and, I guess, smell the roses? Because in your wildest dreams, would you ever think that having an ice cream shop would be sustainable?
No, my parents, I was crazy. I was like, you're gonna stop doing clothes. Like, at that point, at the time, when I was. If you imagine when you're 18 years old, I'm gonna go start a clothing brand. Your parents are like, please don't.
Yeah, they're looking at you like you're crazy.
Next thing you know, you're like, okay, I'm like six years in. Now, like, hey guys, I'm gonna go open an ice cream store. They're like, how are you gonna make money doing ice cream, right? Like they're like, they don't. Yeah, like, please don't do that. And then, now they're like, okay, we'll do it.
Right?
We get it. Now we get it. We get it.
So Afters was like your first
food.
Like, your first food that like.
I have never worked a day in my life in food prior. Never worked at fast food. Never. I am not
so funny.
I don't know. I don't even cook. I don't cook now. I don't know how to cook.
That's awesome.
But I eat out a lot, and I try a lot of different things. And I mess around cooking my friends, like over in the kitchen. They'll teach me things here and there, but I'm definitely not a chef or cook by trade, and I'm very heavily in the food industry.
That is awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to throw out like a quick 45-second recap, dude, because you said a lot. I learned a lot about you, and it's really cool. But I think it's, we always constantly talk about people taking something from someone's story and applying it. Like, to just recap, you were an awkward, not so good high school student with grades. You went to a continuation school, which in today's world, like, you're like, if a parent says or a kid says continuation school, you instantly think, oh, what'd he do or what'd she do? They're in trouble. And you literally, that was like the start of you. You took that, redefined yourself, recreated something, went back to school, became like a cool guy. Had that shows right there that you already had like determination, like, which most people don't have. And we've said this numerous times, but like my life motto is like the word grit, right? You have to be gritty to do whatever you want to do in life. You have to have grit. So you did that, went to college, found out it wasn't for you, dropped out, created a business, took that business, created another business, took that business, created another business, and it literally just keeps going from there. Yeah. Like, you are literally the definition of an entrepreneur. I hate when people use that word in today's world now, because it's like, oh, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
Of course.
Great. Not discrediting that, but it's also like you don't know what it really means to live it, to breathe it, to not know where you're going to get your next paycheck when you're first starting out. People don't understand like the hustle mentality that it takes. We've talked about it, They just see the fighters in the ring with the lights. Yep. They don't see the prep work.
And that's the most important part.
Yeah. So, dude, it sounds like you're just a natural born hustler. And again, I'm honored that you came on and took the time to talk with us. Dude, just thank you.
Anytime for you guys, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I like that.
Give us did you have a question?
No, I was going to say that what you were about to.
I just give a shout out to businesses where people can find you.
Yeah.
Or if they want, just access to you.
Yeah, they can follow me on social media, Andy the Nguyen, or Nguyen. That's the weird part to spell.
Yeah.
Our businesses, we have After's Ice Cream, Portside Fish Co., Don't Arrow Cookies at here. You can visit Rodeo 39 in Stanton, which is the food hall down over there. We got Hello Kitty Cafe in Las Vegas, Seven Leaves Cafe in Las Vegas, Sticky's Chicken in Houston. The list is, it's hard to say. The list.
And your newest one in LA, though.
Matte Black Coffee, yes. Matte Black Coffee, yes.
It's pretty dope.
We're literally going to have him back on to talk about all the other businesses.
It's pretty sick. But yeah, thank you again.
Of course. Thank you guys
Yeah,
for having
man.
me. Yeah,
No,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
making the time. Appreciate you. Look forward to having you on a couple more times, and just thanks, man.
Yeah, I gotta have you guys bring you guys out to eat at my
Yes.
place.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I could eat. All right, guys.
Yeah.
So remember that everything was impossible until someone did it. So, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Fight Within Podcast. Find us on all audio platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, anywhere you guys like to listen to it. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for continuing to listen to it and watch it. We can see the growth on our analytics, and just want to thank you guys for supporting us. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Kingdom Nutrition. Make sure you guys go and visit their site over at kingdomnutrition.com and enter promo code MFW10 to get 10% off your next purchase. Kingdom Nutrition carries the best sports supplements on the market. They manufacture and curate their own line of supplements with the highest quality ingredients, including a lean protein, weight gainer protein, pre-workout, BCAAs, and an array of other products. They've recently created the world's first vegan chickpea protein, and it tastes amazing. I'm a big dude. I like food, and I like chocolate. So when they told me it comes in chocolate and vanilla, I got really happy. But if you're a workout enthusiast and you want to change up your diet, change up your protein, go check out their vanilla chickpea protein. It mixes well with anything. It'll blend great with a smoothie. So to get your hands on any of these products, just make sure and go visit kingdomnutrition.com. Remember to enter promo code MFW10 and get 10% off your next purchase. Let's go.